Okay, we are recording. This is David P. France, and I'm coming to you from Basel, Switzerland. And before we start this interview, I'd like for everyone to share the interview and the videos, like the interviews and the videos, and subscribe to the channel. We are currently on YouTube and BitChute. And I believe we're at interview number 44 or 45. I have to check. But currently, I'm speaking with Renee Ambush. And Renee's been with us, or she interviewed with us a couple of months back. And Renee is an impartation strategist. She is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, but currently residing outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome again, Renee. How are you?
I am well, David. I'm pleased to be here, excited to be here. I always love talking to you. So this
Uh,
is going to be great. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Well, before we get started, I want to let everyone know that I listened to our interview again, the full interview, and it's interesting because just before we start, I'll tell you that when we do these interviews, I generally do not listen to them afterwards. I just put them up
Oh,
without any kind of, which is not the way to do it, right? You're really
Mhm.
supposed to have somebody listen to see whether it actually recorded the whole way. But I listened to it again. It was a very, very good interview. And
Oh,
we went into some
wow.
things, we went into things that most people don't talk about on a regular basis. So I want to bring up a couple of things before we veer into what's happening or what's happened since the last time we spoke,
Okay.
which is, I want you to tell people what an impartation strategist is again, just to refresh their memory. And for those people who have not watched the first interview, you'll get, you'll get a dose of, or you'll get an explanation. And later after the interview, I suggest you go back to the first one, and maybe we can put a link in the
Yeah.
description box so you
Yeah.
can say first interview. How about that?
Yeah. I think that'd be great.
So what is an impartation strategist?
Okay. So, David, again, I'm going to tell you what an impartation strategist isn't first,
Uh-huh.
right? I'm going to let you know that I am not a life coach because I'm not the giver of life. So,
Hmm.
I don't coach you on something that I didn't give you. And I'm not a motivational speaker, and we've heard of those. But to motivate you is only to motivate or talk to your emotions. You go to a 45-minute or an hour session with a motivational speaker and you feel empowered only to leave and then later on have to deal with the same challenges that you came into that workshop with and still don't know how to get past them. So, what an impartation strategist does is actually offer strategies to help you get past those things that are holding you bondage and hindering you from living your best self and in your best life. I help you to navigate through thought process, your mindset, perspectives, and challenges, experiences, and things that have held you bound and not allowed you to actually operate in your full potential and purpose. And I think that that's so very important because, like I said, a lot of times we're giving little speeches or we're kind of giving little inklings that sound good, but we walk away going, now what do I do with this material? What do I do to get past what I'm going through? And
Hmm.
that's what I do. I impart and ignite what's already inside of you, but I help declutter. I help you to take those fragments of stuff and kind of put them together and help them to make sense so that you can actually operate in your purpose.
So
I
look,
think I
I
broke
mean,
that down.
I mean, the second question I asked in this first interview was more or less the first or second, was the term impartation, right, and its origins. And I said, well, is it biblical?
It
Right, it has
is.
some origin from a biblical origin. And what was your response? Could you relay that as well?
Elaborate?
Yes.
Absolutely. So what happens is, okay, naturally, every time I really would get around people, and I am a therapist, social worker by education and trade, but every time I would get around people, they would always be like, "Oh my goodness, like I didn't see it the way you just put it. That was so simple. Like that made sense. I feel like I can do this. I know I can do this. Oh my God, I'm so like." I feel empowered. Like, I'm going to start this, and they would. And as a testament to that, people have started operating in purpose and like, oh my gosh, Renee, I never thought that I would be living like this and actually feeling peace, a sense of peace from doing what I'm like purpose to do, what I love to do. I feel a sense of peace with that. And it biblically came from the fact that there was the story account of Mary, the mother of Jesus, and her cousin Elizabeth, who was pregnant at the time with John the Baptist. They met, and the Bible says that when Elizabeth went to Mary, the baby inside of her leapt, meaning that very thing that's inside of you already needs to just be connected with another individual for it to leap, for you to feel that inner being of, yes, I can do this. Yes, I have a sense of empowerment that's already inside of here, because I'm not giving you anything. We've all been born with an innate ability to overcome, the innate ability to progress, to be purposeful, to be, to have this life that produces for yourself and for others. But like I said, so much stuff starts cluttering it, and we miss that. It becomes stifled. But Mary's baby, her promise, her purpose leapt inside of her. And of course, as we know the account, as the Bible says, she gave birth to that purpose. And then, of course, the story goes on from there. So that's what I do. I connect with you to ignite what's already inside of you, to help birth, just like that same account, for you to come forth in that and actually figure out what's going on with self that's not allowing me to operate in my purpose and in myself that needs to come out and bring me abundant joy, because that's what it does. It gives you peace and it gives you joy.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting now is about, what was it? Maybe 3 to 4 months ago, we had a conversation. And we were in the midst of COVID. Now we're still in the midst of COVID, but we have this political situation hanging over our heads, right? So what I am curious, what have people been coming to you with now that we're in this particular situation? And we're not going to get political here, right? We're going to keep it not, apolitical. But I'm interested because I'm not an impartation strategist, right?
Yes, you are. Because listen, I want people to pick that up now. But just like we picked up motivational speaker, yes, you are. You are. Listen, you are helping me to fulfill my purpose by allowing me the platform. So yes, you are imparting. You are. Use it. Put it out there. Listen, everybody watching this video, if you are helping someone become their better self, you are an impartation strategist, right? I mean, we picked up motivational speaker. We picked up life coach. Come on, y'all, pick it up. You can have it. Come on, let's run with it.
Oh my God. Well, okay. So look, what have people been coming to you with? Because I know I'm thinking, okay, we were, our first conversation was during COVID, and there was a lot there, right? Now, what we've been in this thing, close to 9 months, I guess. So what have people been coming to you with regard to the COVID situation? How has it impacted people as far as you can say?
A lot of people right now are in this place where we have heard the jargon that 2020 was the year of vision. Well, people have seen throughout this year what doesn't work for them and what's not working for them. And a lot of people are coming to me wanting to know, what is my purpose? Like, the whole 9 to 5 has been shut down. I'm not able to work. So that very thing that they were going into, that they let consume the majority of their life, is no more. So now you're spending time with self, and it's like, okay, I've got to be doing something else, and this is a little sidebar, but sometimes people go to colleges or training schools or whatever and don't even go into the profession that they went to school for, and that's not a bad thing, but it's just like, okay, I'm not even doing what I want to do. I didn't even feel like I was, content or at peace with what I was doing. But now that everything's shut down and my finances is not coming in by the very thing that I didn't like anyway, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? And I've been getting that question a lot. What am I supposed to be doing now? We've got this question mark and blur. And again, like you said, we're not, political, but it's like, what happens to me financially and economically? What happens, with the schoolings? What happens with all this stuff? Because we don't know now. It's so up in the air, and it's been 9 months and we still don't have questions. So now it's time to focus on self. What am I supposed to be doing? And I love that question, because for an impartation strategist, I'm like, come on, it's so much fun for me, because it's like, I love what I do, number one, but number two, I love seeing seeds that I've planted blossom into amazing gardens. Like, people actually go, I get it. I'm going to do it. And they do it. And then you see the productivity from it. And you actually see a whole nother person as well. So that's right now the main, one of the biggest questions, and the main thing that people are coming to me with is like, what do I do now? What am I supposed to do? What am I purpose to do? Because apparently it wasn't the 9 to 5, And the other thing, for a moment, people are now understanding, since, again, politically, not politically speaking, since the building we call church has been shut down.
Right. Yeah.
People are looking to navigate through their relationship with the higher power, with a spiritual being or something else, to help them understand purpose. So again, that is something else that people are coming with, looking for wisdom and knowledge. And I kind of think that it goes back again to the impartation strategist. I'm not going to really give you what you don't know. I'm going to bring to the forefront what you do know, but you have not been operating in. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Of course I do.
Okay.
Of course I do. Why and what prevents people from understanding what their purpose is? This is a very interesting question, because I can tell you from my experience, and I said this during the first interview, I knew what my purpose was. And even when I could not articulate it, it came through me. Probably for since I started to maybe junior high, when I started to connect with the people that were living at the time in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. And there was some, I would say there was some stress or some pressure, because I was a new kid in school. So I had to develop a way to connect with people, even though I was doing it, much younger. I had to start to develop. I did develop. I even had the nerve to run. I think I ran for a political, either president or something really ridiculous for somebody who's new to the school. Right? I even did that. But what, from your perspective, what prevents people from seeing or knowing their purpose? I don't understand. Like, I at least did it, even though my mind wasn't there 100%. My body led me to do it, and I was sort of in the vicinity, right? But there's certain people that are not moving.
And it brings me to this. I'm going to give a strategy. Many times we don't question ourselves. And we have to question by asking ourselves, what's your why? Why are you not doing it? Why do you think the way you do? Why do you receive the way you do? Why do you respond the way you do? Why are you triggered by the things you are? Why are you paralyzed in fear? Why? We have got to ask ourselves why. Now, it's so funny, because when we're interested in another individual, and we want to know them, right? And we want to get close to them. What do? We ask them questions,
Sure.
right? We want to know, what's your background? Well, how did you grow up? And, what do you think about this? And we ask them all these questions, but we really don't take the time to sit down and ask ourselves these questions. Because once you ask yourself these questions, you get to know who you are. You get to know how you operate. You really get to know what you like, what you don't like, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. But when we don't take that time to do that, and then we get into relationships with other people, or get into jobs that we connect with, because everything is about relating. We get into these things, and then we let them define us. And we can articulate what we don't like or what we're not with. You know, I'm not getting with that. I'm not going to be able to do that. But we never really still take the time to say, well, what is it? Or why is it that I'm this way? And see, what happens is when life happens to us, which is inevitable, we're going to go through life. Things are going to happen and they pile on top of each other and pile on top of each other. And we get experiences. And like you said, with you going to the school and new, you're like, you don't know why you ran, but it was like, you didn't really question and set yourself to say, well, why am I doing this? This is like, okay, I'm gonna do it. You know, I'm here. This is what's doing. But then after we become, we learn more. We are the new terminology, we become woke. You know, we're like, okay, wait, now something is saying I need some questions answered. So you have to ask them though. The questions can't just linger out there. You've got to ask yourself. So I would say that one of the strategies that I use is having people to actually begin to question themselves or ask themselves questions, not question themselves, but ask themselves questions so they can get to know who they are. And honestly, once you start doing that, it may be uncomfortable, but it is for the greater good. Once you start delving into those things, you get to break down a lot of stuff that you may have allowed to be raised up into a mountain. You realize that it's just a pebble and you can actually overcome that. Now, it's kind of close to what we call in the therapeutic world, cognitive behavior therapy. It's called CBT. So pretty much I'm utilizing strategies individually and personally, and that's the difference from it being a therapeutic stance being used as in individual circumstances and situations, but pretty much breaking it down so that you can start breaking down these things that are holding you down. And then you have a freer mind space. You have a freer heart space. You have all the junk that you get to put out that you can see clearly, and then you operate clearly. You operate better. You make better choices. You actually are you're freeing yourself up to have peace. And anything in a peaceful state is able to see the whole picture and make a better resolve. So that's a strategy where I would say that we should use right now, honestly, to check out why. Why did you take that job? Let's be real. Did you take it because it's like, you know what, I needed the money? And it was the first person that hired me. And I'm like, so I'm going to do it. And then 25 years later, you're like, God, the money is not even enough to pay my mortgage. Right. You know, I can't even retire off of this. And it's like, okay, so you need to revisit your why, because your why has changed. You know, so that strategy is repetitive. It's continual. Keep on asking those questions to yourself, because you're going to change as you continue to find out more and more about yourself.
Well, I'm going to bring this up. I think it's very, very interesting that because we are living in a particular time, challenging time, that people are being forced to do things that they had never, ever had to do. They've never had to do it. And I will just speak for myself. I will not speak, you know, I did an interview a couple of months ago, maybe 8 weeks ago. And the host kept saying, well, as a Black man, what do you think about this, and this, right? You know, you're in Europe as a Black man, da, 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 da. And I wanted to, and I did say, this is bigger. Like, this is bigger than race. This is bigger than race. Although we all have identities and we've all identified at one particular point in time or the other with a specific race. How we identify, that's something else. But I believe this is cutting across racial, it's cutting across gender. Now, how the experience that people may have had may have been colored by their experience in terms of how people treat them, right? But people may have had to jump outside of their racial or gender category, the thing that they were relying on or using, in order to move through the world, right? I just think it's very interesting at this particular time. COVID does not discriminate in the way that we're used to seeing discrimination being displayed, right? So I just wanted to get your impressions on what that, what I'm thinking. It's people have had to do things and be certain things that they were not planning on. They had not planned on as a result of this current situation.
And let me say this, right? One of the things that I was not planning on, even though I have educator in my background, I wasn't planning on homeschooling a 16-year-old and or a 6-year-old at the same time. I wasn't planning on having to do no virtual learning, in this day and time. Like, I was planning on sending them to school to allow them to have that interaction and social skills and things of that nature outside of the home. So I wasn't planning on that. And it took a shift on a lot because I had to, of course, readjust how I did things, which that is a word I'm quite sure we're using a lot, readjusting. We're doing a lot of readjusting right now. And like you said, people are doing things they didn't have to do before. But as an impartation strategist, I'm always finding the silver lining as well. People are finding out that they're able to do those things that they didn't have to do before as well. And again, another reason or another way to show them how strong they actually are, how much of an overcomer or resilient they really are, how much strength they really have. And we've heard that saying that we've heard that saying before, that a lot of times we don't know how strong we are until we have to be. And exactly what COVID has done. It has allowed us to see, honestly, our strengths. Yes, it has shown us our vulnerabilities. It has shown us our weaknesses. But for all of those who are continuously enduring, it has showed us your strength. It has shown you your ability to be resilient. But you are absolutely right. It is not gender based. It is not. It's not economically based. It is all over. And this is a time, because it's there, that we look to what we used to use, like you said, as an excuse or a why, to be our reasons to be why not. Why not come together? Why not join forces? Why not? Because see, what is actually happening right now is not happening to a certain race or a certain gender or a certain, like I said, or a certain economic status. It's happening to us all. So since it happens to us all, how can we all come together and assist another individual? Well, I'm a strategist. How about let's barter? We're looking at our economy. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening with the money or anything like that. But hey, listen, if you have a service that I can make use of that's going to help my life or my family life become better, how about offering that to me? Because we all got something. If you cook and I sew, let's go ahead on and make this thing work together. You know what I mean? If you got to watch my kid while I wash clothes and then I can do your hair, I mean, I'm just coming up with stuff. If we do that, honestly, we become more empowered, even to, and again, I'm not political, but we become more empowered not to depend so much on the system.
There you go.
Because I just gotta say it. I'm just telling you,
You take the words out of my mouth. Go ahead, keep going. Okay. Keep going. I'm hearing you. I'm with you.
Really, I'm like, because at the end of the day, we're complaining about that too. The system is this and we can't navigate through that. Well, I'm here to tell you, in all honesty, just in case nobody did, the system was never set up for us to win. It was to keep us in the system. And again, I'm not political. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm telling you that because, again, I loved, please put this in a footnote, side note. I loved when I worked for the government. I mean, my paychecks was nice, they were flowing, nice little a pay grade or whatever the case may be for that time. However, it was a system that helped me to the point where someone else was telling me when to wake up, when to go to bed, when to eat, when to go to the bathroom. And it literally almost was like I did not have any control over my own being because something else was dictating to me what it is I had to do or must do. Guess what? To get that paycheck that I liked.
That's right.
So I'm like, when we come together and do more of, listen, you don't have to give me any money, but this is what I need. Like, even all honesty, if you're a mechanic, listen, but you've got children and sometimes you don't, you need a night out with your wife. If you can fix my car, Mr. Mechanic, I promise you I can watch your kids for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to save your marriage and you're going to save my whip. I'm from Baltimore, so, you know, I'm going to have to.
Right.
But
I mean, yes.
that's empowering right there. And I think that if nothing else, if it didn't show anyone in COVID to do this, I'm asking you to please do this, to come together, right? And utilize your strengths and your resources to help someone else who will ultimately help someone else with their strength and resources. And honestly, it'll make a difference.
Why don't people see that as clear as you have presented as you presented it? It's my experience. Either they are, look.
It's the barriers. The barriers, again, that's the strategic thing that I tell you I help people get over. It's the barriers. We have fear. We have fear that if we help somebody else out, it's going to take from us, right? Now, I thought about this. It's the fear of being rejected when you come in with a new idea, you know, when you come in with a vision that nobody else understands, you know, it's that fear. It's the rejection. It's the being turned down. It's the fear of somebody taking your vision and running with it. Like we have to be real with this, because those things are the things that we have to overcome in order to make us vulnerable and able to go out there and do things like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was thinking, I was like, you know, if one person had a vision and the other person had pretty much the same vision, right? Because there is actually, sorry about that, there is actually power in numbers. We've seen that in you know, in a number of ways, right?
Sure.
So if we come together and put our vision together, right, then our vision becomes stronger. It becomes greater. Now I'm getting ready to go somewhere else with this though, and I'm just being truthful, right?
I'm with you.
It takes me back to one street with 5 different churches on it with different denominations. Well, why are we doing that? Why we just can't come together on this one street and say, hey, what do we agree on? What are we working together with? Let's make that work. You know what I mean? That's the greater, because people are coming with the greater, and especially if it's the greater for the good. And I think that, again, like I said, just one of those barriers to really latching on to help somebody else with their vision. Those fears are, you know, somebody's going to take my vision and run, somebody's going to reject my vision, or somebody's going to be greater than I with the same vision. I think those things are barriers that we have that stop us from really, really connecting with other people. And again, I mean, I'm just going to throw this out here because I really do appreciate you. You're using your platform to connect with individuals with the same vision, the same like mind, the same, you know, mantra to empower people. You're not saying, well, if I put somebody on my radio station or my, you know, on my platform that's doing something great, it's going to take away from me, you know? No. Right. And I literally, like, I just had an interview with another gentleman. It was a DJ. He said something so profound to me. He said, I'm not major and I'm not known. He said, and most DJs, because he was actually one of the ones that gave me my first platform for my single. And he says, you know, most DJs don't want to break an artist or put an artist on that's going to possibly hinder their reputation, you know, because they're looking to get this certain reputation in the industry. So they may not put on somebody who is well deserving just because it may be a little way from the norm. And he goes, but I'm purposed to use my platform for other people to be able to get seen, for indie artists to be seen. And I'm like, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you're able to put yourself in a position to know that if you help somebody else be great, it only helps you become greater. That's some impartation strategist stuff right there.
Look, well, you said so much. The sign of a great DJ, in my eyes, is that they're constantly looking for the new, right? I mean, they're definitely going to support what's already out there, right? They want, in my eyes, the DJ wants to be the first one. This is the way it was when I was coming. You want to be the person that's constantly breaking the new acts, because then you build your reputation. Now, it may take longer. It may take longer, or you find other DJs that think similarly, so that you become the lead in the industry and the go-to group, you know, for these types of people. Because without people that are in that mindset of breaking new artists, how are the new artists going to get seen? And you don't have to like, there are different ways to bring them in, right? There are different ways to bring them in. You don't have to give them, a whole hour. You can give them 15 minutes. You can get them a call, a call in. There's so many ways to do it, right? So
Right.
I
But
don't
David,
see.
look at, like you said, look at where we are though. Honestly, this is the hour that people are becoming more colder as well and more self-absorbed. So it's like if there isn't anything that I can see from the beginning that's in it for me, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you got to look at your why. Why are you doing it? When he told me he was, he was doing it because he believes that he's supposed to allow this platform for
Uh-huh.
others, and it, in turn, it'll elevate him. But it's the selflessness, and again, we are waxing cold in this hour, the very hour that we need to have like compassion and empathy because it's so much going on. We have too many people who are hurt and bruised and they're like gone into themselves and like, nope, I'm gonna get this thing by myself. And sadly enough, no man is an island. You're not gonna be able to do this by yourself, baby. You're going to wake up and
No.
realize somebody's gonna have to help you.
Somebody is gonna, hey, look, in anything that you're doing that's big, you need people to help you, right? I mean, you need people to help you. It's just super clear to me. Look, I've expressed to you that I'm a volunteer for my university, going on 23 years. Now, 23 years is a long time
A
to
long
be
time.
working for, let's just put it this way, the way that other people would see it, working for nothing. Giving away your time, giving away your energy, right? So from my perspective, or maybe that's not my perspective, from what I can see, if I said to someone who also graduated from that university, I've been a volunteer for 23 years, to me, let's say that means something. It means something. But what I'm finding is that people don't even really understand what that means. They're not even in the space to really, they're not they cannot discern anything that's outside of their own thing, which is a big problem. I just think it's a big problem. That means that you're not really as educated as you are leading people to believe that you are just because you went to this school. I'm
gonna even go beyond that though, David. Not even the
yes,
education piece, because the sad part about it is many are educated and they
yes,
have lots of knowledge, but they have no heart's compassion. See, it's the matter of the heart, right?
no, okay,
You can
okay,
have all the knowledge, but it's the application which gives us wisdom that
right,
have you to operate out of the realms of your heart. So you got to check your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I'm gonna go here with this one. The heart is wicked above all things. Who shall know it? That's why we gotta question ourselves and ask these things as to why are we doing stuff. Because see, like you said, we can go to these universities. I'm going to venture to say that you volunteer because you know the importance of what the outcome is. Well, that's not something that you have to intellectually know. That's not something you got to be wise about or educated on. That's something that you have allowed yourself to feel, allow yourself to say, this is of worth. And the only time sometimes we can find worth is what our heart is attached to, because what our heart is attached to is what our mind thinks, and it becomes our perspective, and it becomes what we say and what see and what we say. So if we don't see no worth in helping somebody else, then we ain't going to be here, and that's not going to be our action. But you see it because your heart says it's decluttered. I'm using that impartation strategist again. It doesn't have the malice, the envy, the jealousy, the strife, the bitterness, the hatred. It don't have that stuff in there. So when it doesn't have that stuff, you can volunteer for 23 years. But when you've got jealousy or malice or envy or strife and those things in that heart, we're going to have all the knowledge and education we have, but we only going to apply it to self. Why? Because you're not applying it to the right places. You're applying it to here, but you're not applying it to here. And that's what makes the difference.
Wow, it's interesting to me. It's almost like, let me put it this way. I've had all of those things not in the same gradation, right? In terms of, it's almost like you presented the 7 deadly sins plus, right? I mean, I've experienced all of those, right? I will tell you, when I experience jealousy, when I am jealous, right? Or envy, I would even
You
say
gonna
envy. I don't
kill for
even
it.
say what?
I said, yeah, that envy is something else. You will kill, steal, and destroy for it. Jealous is just, you just got some feelings and emotions. I don't really like that.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? Envy is like, oh, we gonna do something to cut you down to make sure
Oh,
that
okay,
never
okay,
happen
okay.
again.
I I have not experienced envy,
Me either.
nor have I experienced jealousy in a severe way, because I catch myself when I feel it, right? I catch myself when I feel it. And I say, what they, and I always say, it's like I have an explanation as to maybe why that other
Oh,
person
I was waiting for you to say that. That strategist
that
move. I
is
just
doing
hit it.
what
I
they're
just hit
doing,
it.
right? Or has what they
Why?
have, right? There's an
Right.
explanation. I was like, look, Dave, that's them.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be like, and you know that feeling's not a, you know that feeling's not going to go take you anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
based on where you, that's me talking to me, where you want to go, right? So I'm with jealousy and envy, not really, but jealousy, I already know it's a showstopper. I already know that it's a showstopper, because maybe because I've wanted to do big things,
Mm-hmm.
and I understood that it requires a lot of people, right? That I need to be cool. And it's not like I go out, strategically being cool with people to get what it is that I want, right? It's just that that's how I, have decided to move in the world. Now, I do think you should have a strategy, right?
Absolutely.
You have a
Absolutely.
strategy,
Mm-hmm.
but I think what, and things have never been sort of like straight, straight on. But I understand how these negative feelings like jealousy and envy are sabotaging our potential, right? And
Absolutely.
how being in touch with who you are and knowing
Come
who
on.
you are
That's right.
is an antidote, or is the antidote, one of the antidotes to living in negativity, jealousy, envy, et cetera, et cetera.
And David, I want to say this, right?
Mhm.
Because one of the things I operate in with this impartation strategist, right? Having not grown up in the church initially, and then spending my early adult years in the church, um, I was under a lot of religiosity.
Mm.
And I said the best lessons that we're learning right now through COVID are the lessons unlearned. So I'm gonna see lie that for a minute, because there's a lot of things that we were taught, and even with good intention, that we begin to make our quote unquote gospel truth, and it was just actually just things that was handed down and passed down through somebody else, right? So I'm saying all that to say that through my religiosity teaching, you would almost feel shunned or something was wrong with you if you experienced any of those emotions. But the furthering in the teaching of that is to say, to operate out of those emotions that would cause harm to self or others or things of that nature would be the problem. Not
Mm.
having the feeling, right? Because I've debated this for years. People say and use the Bible scripture, you're not supposed to be angry. You ain't a Christian if you ain't angry. No, 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 no. It says you can be angry, right? If we want to use the King James, he said, "Be ye." You can be, that's a street term. You can be angry, but just don't do anything out of the anger. And what happens is we start stifling and muffling people who have an emotion, and we don't let them process past that emotion because we make them feel so bad because they've had it. If you're jealous of something, like I said, if you ask yourself, why are you jealous? You know what I mean? Then you can get to the root of it, and then there's jealousy no more. But if you stopping people at you're not supposed to be jealous, then now we don't even know what to do with jealousy. We don't know what
Mm.
to do with that feeling. So it begins to continue to hover in our heart. So now we don't even call it jealousy because we've been told that that was bad. So we're not going to give a name to it, or we're going to stifle it so much that we're going to act like it's not there, but we're going to constantly act out of it, but we're going to act like it's not there. So as an impartation strategist, or somebody finding out that their reason, like I said, dealing with self and going, hey, I was jealous of such and such. Okay, that's, again, let's go to those questions. Why were you jealous? Well, I was jealous, and again, just kind of coming up with an analogy or an example. Well, I was jealous of Susie, looking beautiful and pretty and stuff like that, because when I grew up, we didn't have money. And every time I saw her, she just reminded me that, of my childhood where we were poor. And it's like, okay, so now let's get past that. You know what I'm saying? Let's deal with that. Are you still poor? No, I got a good, come on now. See, now we dealing with some stuff. So you ain't even got to go back into all those feelings, because you've overcome them already. You know what I mean?
Right. I understand. I see it. Let me tell you how I see it. Because I understand where you're coming from. It's almost as if I knew. Now there's other deadly sins that I have had issues with, right? So we can put those to the side, right? And we're talking about envy and jealousy. We're talking about envy and jealousy right now. Okay, so for whatever reason, when that would come up, it just would make people look ugly. This is me. I'm just telling you how I could see the ugliness in people, and I would say, if they knew how they looked, would they be, would they really continue to be envy, have envy and jealousy? Would they? And I think, I just was really sensitive to that. And I'll be honest with you with regard to being black, growing up black in America. This whole idea of us not understanding our value and worth was something that I did not understand, because I could see it clear as day, as early as 5 years old. I could see it as clear as day.
No, David, that's an interesting thing.
I was like, why are people tripping? Like, I didn't get it. And let me just tell you this. When I moved to New Jersey, now, let me roll back. When I lived in Baltimore, we lived in Baltimore County. I didn't grow up in the city, right? So my parents were constantly trying to take us out of the city, to the point where, it's ridiculous. Now, then we moved to New Jersey, and it's predominantly white, area, right next to Newark, New Jersey, which is, predominantly black. So what do you call it? The dynamic, the dynamic was, it was one of the most challenging, because at that time, as talented as we were as a people, as many examples as you could point to of people being successful, albeit maybe limited. Okay, you had politics, you had sports, you have entertainment, no different than now. But people were doing things. And yet I did not feel that we as a people, right, really, really had value for one another. And I thought, I can't understand. You can see us doing stuff. You can see, or at least I can see the value of when we come into a situation. So why can't I take what I see and apply that? This is how I'm thinking every day, right?
Well,
so if
David,
yes.
Well, listen, what you're saying, which is, like I said, is interesting, because you had that awakening, or you were able to see that early on. But I think we kind of talked about this before, about the generations before us, right?
Yes.
If they aren't at a place that they're passing on that information to help you with your value and your worth and your esteem and your identity, then that's what you're going to have a struggle, because you're going to be finding it on your own. Now, what you were saying is very, very, very profound, or whatever, because what I'm trying to say is that when I was younger, I would watch the Miss America pageant. So we're talking the 70s and the 80s.
Yes.
And my family, well, a particular cousin of mine, she would always be like, why are you watching that? No black people win. Why'd you watch all the white women? And I'm going, but she never told me that me being black was beautiful. So I'm watching a beauty pageant and I'm
Right.
hearing someone love me tell me that no one my skin color is ever going to win. So don't watch that. But you're not telling me it's okay to be this skin color and be a winner. Do you understand what I'm saying? And
Yes,
they wasn't,
I understand.
she wasn't saying something to hurt me. She was only passing down what was passed down to her. So in her own little way, she was actually encouraging me in her own way. It sounds crazy, but
Yeah,
like
yeah,
don't hurt yourself by watching what'll never happen. Only
yeah.
of course for what? It to happen and repeatedly happen. And
Right.
hey, look at us. So I think that it's interesting because even at whatever age you
Hmm.
were aware that you didn't have to be limited.
No, no.
All right. So
I'm telling my parents, like, what are y'all doing? Like, I would tell them stuff like, why? I'll share you with it. This is, and my parents would let me get away with this. Like, usually they were very strict. They were very strict. There were certain things that we could get away with, but we had to it had to be a situation where let me put it this way. There had to be a situation where a lesson that they presented to us was clear and in their face. It had to be something that they had repeated over and over and over again. And if it was present with them, then we could call them out on it, but we still had to be a little slick in terms of how we presented that information. And I'll give you an example, right? My parents would have people over, their friends, like certain people that they were friends with, or just guests in the home. So of course I could pick up on whether the person was full of it
that was me.
from the very beginning. And they would be like, oh, whatever. Now, of course, I wouldn't say anything unless it got to the point where, as I look, it's not like in my mind I said, okay, I have to say something, because as a kid, you're not thinking that way. You're just like, I need to. You just say it, right?
Absolutely.
So I remember. I'll give an example. We had a pastor come over, and this was over my grandmother's house, and he had a watch. He had a watch on, and the watch, Renee, the watch had what do you call it? A face on the front and a face on the back. It had a face, two faces on the watch. And it was a very, very ornate watch.
Okay.
So when he came over, he was, he was talking to my grandmother.
Not the voice change.
He's talking to everybody and blah, blah, blah. And he actually talked about his watch and showed his watch. And at that point, of course, I said, I can't wait. I can't wait to, to talk about this. And I remember there was a moment and they were all praising him and this and that. And this is at my grandparents. I was like, why is the man showing his watch when clearly that has nothing to do with why he's here? Like, why is he showing, and why does it have two faces? And of course, my parents laugh because, what I mean? It's obvious, right? But those are the situations where I could get away with calling certain things out. I couldn't do it all the time, or another example, when there was one particular person that, let's say a guest that my parents were, they're so great, or they're so great. And I would be like, this person is not, they are not who my parents think they are. And then trying to figure out a way to be able to present that. But we couldn't, there was still a hierarchy in my family. I could not back talk or it just had to be so obvious, almost like by just mentioning it, they would just laugh. That was the criteria. If it was comical and everybody knew it was comical, or if it was obvious and everybody knew it was obvious, then I could say it. And that strategy has been utilized from the time when I was younger, even to this day, at work, with other people. You can't necessarily say what is on your mind all the time, right?
Right. And see, it's so funny that you said that, because this is just my belief that there are some of us that just have that discerning ability to see beyond what we see.
Uh-huh.
And because that doesn't fit into the norm, it's not the norm, or we make it maybe possibly spooky or unbelievable, or we look to not validate that type of stuff per se, then it's just like, nope, let's downplay it. But you know what you know. But I think that the people, like you said, that are able and have that ability to see beyond what we're just looking at should also operate in the mandate to help other people. But again, like I said, it's not the norm. I'm the same way. Like, you meet people and everyone thinks they are the best thing since sliced bread. And you're just like, that person is wicked and will mean you no good. But it's just like when you have nothing to base that on, especially if you're just meeting them, then it's like, wow, you're just using your own whatever to draw conclusions about only for whatever circumstances, situation, or time being to pass. And that person displays the very thing you said in the beginning. And, it's kind of funny. It's like, biblically speaking, nobody believed Noah while he was building that ark until it started raining.
Right, sure. Sure, of course.
But like you said, you have to then, here's this word, you have to be strategic in how you relay the message to people. But I'm saying, don't stop relaying the message. Don't shut up at all. Continue to put that message out, because we have so many people who are either still here or gone on before us that said what they saw. They operated in what they saw. And we thought they were crazy at that time, only now for it to be our norm.
Well, you've said some very interesting things in the last, you said you've been talking, we've been talking about, but just the last couple of words, right? I would say this. Now, you haven't met my aunt yet, and I'm hoping that she will do an interview with me after I finish with you.
Okay.
But she is one of those people who says what's on her mind, and it's usually unpopular, right? It's usually unpopular. And she is a woman of faith, and she calls herself a spiritual warrior, and she has prayed for people. She's in several prayer circles. This is something that is very, I wouldn't say new to me, but it's just, look, if people are manifesting and if people are in their purpose, I'm interested in hearing about it. I don't judge it. Even the guy, the pastor with the two-faced watch.
You couldn't tell.
I'm at a point now where I can, even the person that has the most perceived negative perspective, I'm always looking, okay, so what is this person? Where's this person coming from? What is this person's background? Why are they acting the way they're acting?
Ooh, yes.
Is there something positive that I can get as a result of being in the situation with them? So it's never, well, it's come to the point where it's never, the way that I operate as a younger person is very different than the way that I operate now. I still am able to discern, but I realize that even someone who is so-called wicked, so-called a buffoon, so-called, that there is something that person is there to bring out of us.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I don't go into a situation, I did in the past, I don't go into a situation where it's either my way or the highway, or, that person is this, so therefore they're that. I'm always looking at, okay, there's a reason why they're there. Why are they there?
There we go.
Who put them there? Say what?
I said, there we go with them questions. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like, it has to be that, because they just didn't pop out of nowhere. They just didn't come out of nowhere. And you can apply that to a variety of things. What?
Yeah, it's always a backstory.
Yeah, it is always a backstory.
And I use this example, David. I said we say hi to someone and we go, hey, how you doing? And they like, hey. And it's like, you never really took, I said, how are you doing? I asked you a question. But see, we have gotten so trained to really just tune out the question parts and just get the, the little bit of parts. But no, when you get the core behind the thing, when you get the reason behind the thing, you'll get the understanding of the behavior. I used to be a behavior counselor in a school with children who had disabilities and learning disabilities and behavior problems. And the first thing that the other teachers would want to tell me is all about their behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't give me, let me read the file. Let me get why they have these behaviors. If Sammy is acting out in school and he's always fighting and he's always angry and that's all you want to focus on, but you're not telling me that Sammy doesn't eat in the morning. Sammy mom is, a substance abuse user who's not there, and he gets his little sister ready for school as well. You didn't give me that information. You just want me to see Sammy as this really bad, acting out, lashing out kid, so that everyone labels him that and continues to treat him that way until he also continues to believe it himself, and that's the only thing he thinks about himself until he meets somebody else and go, "Hey, Sammy, guess what? I realize that you had struggles. I realize you had challenges. Let's go ahead and deal with them, because you are not your challenges and you are not your struggles. You are not what happens to you." And that's a part of my whole mantra, to tell people, you are not what happened to you. But when we don't get that backstory or that core, that core reason behind stuff, we're then left to draw our own conclusions about that thing. And it's not to say that we're right about it.
That's right.
Again, when you were asking the questions, I'm like, yeah, let's ask the questions to what it is and delve into that thing. And we don't do that a lot. We just kind of go with whatever is, what's out there, and it sounds good and it's a catchphrase and it's, catch jargon. Let's go with it. No.
Well, look, I said I wouldn't get political, but I will say this, that in this particular time, it is very important for people to know backstories.
Yes.
Because I would say there's a backstory to everything. And I think
absolutely.
I worked in media for a very short period of time, but with people who were, let's just call it sketchy, right? So I'm of the mindset that anything that you see on television now, you should be questioning, and you shouldn't be taking their word just because it comes out of television. Now, we grew up with television with this sort of idea that television was your friend, and television, and it was friendly, that the programming, at least we thought, was friendly. So we didn't, at least from my perspective, we didn't question TV. TV was like, oh, it's on TV, so it must be great. It wasn't until I moved to New York and lived in the city that I became friends with a very interesting guy. His father was a banker. They moved all around the world. Last place they're born, father was American, Italian descent, and the mother was German. They moved all around the world, and I think the last place they were before they moved back to the United States was Puerto Rico. So he saw a heck of a lot. And I remember we were over at his house, we had a whole bunch of people over, and he's literally yelling at the TV saying, "That's not true. That's not true. Why did that person say that? That's not true." And I was stunned because I never saw anyone question what was coming out of the television. And literally, that was my moment where I said, you know what, Dave, whenever he has a party, whenever he's bringing people together, you need to go and you just need to listen to what they're saying, what they think is important, what they focus on, how they interact with each other. That was my cue when he yelled at the TV as we were eating hot dogs with no buns. That's not true. And he was indignant about it. I was like, why is he getting so angry about what's being presented on TV? And then when I work, yes?
No, I was going to say, you know what's crazy about that though, David?
Yeah.
Someone who may not be in a position to understand, such as yourself, would begin to question the validity of his mental state. See,
yeah,
that's
of course.
Of course, that's a ploy of the enemy. Anyone who will bring forth any real truth will then be questioned as to their mental state.
Well,
I want us to look at great people. They were crazy. Come on,
look,
talk
let
to
me tell
David.
you. Let me tell you though. I did think, like, at the moment, is he crazy? But I had already witnessed so many other things that he had done and said that were out of the box. So once he did like the first out of the box thing, I knew I had to hang in there just to kind of get an idea. Where's this guy coming from? And also, check this out. He literally almost flunked out of law school, right? But Renee, when he spoke, I think he flunked out of law school, but he got a very, very high LSAT score, right? Like he had poor grades, but like blew out the LSAT. So that's why he was at the particular school he was in, which was a lower tiered school. But you talk about intelligent, and this is when I started to realize that I needed to be more of I needed to listen, and I needed to hear where other people were coming from. I needed to really take it seriously, and I had to present myself as someone who was open. Right. I mean, I was already there, but this was another level because this guy's intelligence was off the chart. But it did not make complete sense because he didn't have a great job. He didn't go to the greatest school. He was sort of like not really doing the work that everybody else was doing because he had his father's, riches to lay back on. But he provided something else. And every time he had this, people over, he would serve big hot dogs, no buns. No buns. It was more like the German thing where you would get the hot dog, and then you get a piece of bread and you get mustard and beer. That's it. Okay. So I said, okay, when we go over there, we know what we're gonna eat. We're not gonna eat. We're not gonna eat well like I'm used to, but I know something's gonna drop.
You're gonna get fed, but you're gonna get
fed, but it's gonna be the basics, right? And
I mean, like beyond natural food, you're gonna get fed. You're gonna fed. Be full. Yeah.
And something's gonna drop. I'll give you another example of this guy. He's American, but he grew up in Canada, right? So all of us went up to Canada with him, and apparently there's a law where you can't bring certain bars. You can't bring in alcohol. Like there's no alcohol, something like that, where you had to sneak it in or something. I don't know what it was. We went to like a speakeasy or something, right? Very, very weird. And he walked in. He didn't know the guy. He knew who had the liquor. Like there was like there was like 3 or 4 people in there, right? So he rolled up to the guy, didn't know the guy, and knew immediately which one had the liquor. So apparently the guy gave him the liquor under the table, whatever. And I just, again, thought that was fascinating because I didn't grow up like this. I had to learn how to see without seeing. I had to learn to see without seeing. And clearly this guy was doing this, right? He had been in so many different situations probably coming up in his life where he had to be the person that was, right? And it was one of the pivotal parts of and I think, it maybe laid the foundation for me to be able to even have this conversation with you now. Because Renee, there are people out there that I know could do the same thing that you and I are doing right now, but they are choosing not to do it for whatever reason, right? You can go on the internet now. You can start a webcast as easy as that. There are people that can speak better than me, have more access to, guests, but for whatever reason, they're not budging. They're not moving. Or Renee, we know a lot of people between the two of us, right? Not everybody's gonna want to come on because, it's only a podcast or it's not TV or it's not, but I'm thinking, but it is something, right? And now in this age, it's just a flip of a switch. And you now can bring your voice to so many different people.
Yeah.
So I mean, I say all this to say, yes.
No, I was saying, you can reach the masses and not leave your living room.
And not leave your living room. Now you can have a business without leaving your room. You can.
Yes. But it's crazy because it's the perspective and mindset as well. And again, like dealing with your whys, because yes, you can have a business, but we rather sit home and order from other businesses and then don't have any money. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we couldn't go out to satisfy what we don't want to deal with. So we'll just bring it in to satisfy what we don't deal with. So I'm not going to sit and take time and talk to myself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to order off of QVC, or I'm going to go ahead on that order, you know what I'm saying, this product and that product. But realizing that all this stuff that I'm ordering, it's not helping the inner me. It's not dealing with the internal stuff. But you know, and I was able to hide that or mask that, not me personally, specifically, but I was able to mask that when I was going to work. I was even able to mask that when I was going to church. I was masking that when I was going to the club. I was masking that when I was going to the bar. But now I can't go out and do those things. But guess what? They made it easier for me to go ahead and do all that at home. So I don't have to go to the bar. I can just order it from the, you know, the store now, and they'll just, you know, Amazon it to me. And I still don't have to deal with anything. I'll just go ahead and bring it into my home, opposed to opening up your home to receive the things that you need that you've been running away from outside your home. Now you can deal with it in private, you know? Mm-hmm. But again, you said that magic word. I said in our first interview that we're all superheroes. And our superpower is the power of choice. And we get to choose. And we get to choose how we operate, when we'll operate, what we'll operate in. But again, like I said, it's a matter of the heart as well. It's a matter of asking them questions. What am I really doing? Who am I really doing it for? What is the outcome I'm looking for? You know, all these things. And I think that's a hindrance too, why people are not connecting. You know, it's like
they're not connecting, are they? They're not. They're not. I mean, look,
they're not as much as they should and could.
Yes.
And I am telling you that the people who are connecting, even though it's a struggle, and this is a word, you know, for them, honestly, don't stop connecting. Don't let the people, some of the people that you connect to that fall away, that walk away, or even that like hurt you or not bring what they said they were going to bring or do what they said. Don't let that stop you, because it's still operating in your purpose. What I learned, David, and it took an ex-husband to show me this, right? People are not our problem. We are. Mm-hmm. People can be triggers. People can be reasons. People can have a lot to do in the experience, but people are not our problem. So because we don't sit and take time with self, or enough time, quality time with self, we miss that. And then we look at the external sources to see, you know, why we can't do what we're not looking at internally to see why we can't do. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see.
Well, I can't connect with somebody that, you know, could possibly potentially help build something greater if I'm not even thinking greater of myself, or if I haven't taken the time to assess myself to see, you know, what quality do I bring, you know? And I mean, listen, I'm telling you some good stuff, because as outspoken as I am, I've always been this way. I've always been out the box. I've always been my own individual, but I take assessment of myself. If I'm going into something else, I want to know, what am I bringing to help project whatever I'm in to the next level or for the betterment, right? Because if I do that, it's going to bring that to me anyway. So I don't have to go in going, what you got for me, what you going to give me, this, that, another, because you know why? I choose to take whatever it is for me out of the experience.
Right.
But I will show up to say, because I care about whatever the whole is, I'm going to bring enough of me to share with you so that we can make it together. Now, you can receive it or you can reject it. That is your choice. But I'm going to bring it. Now, you can do with it what you want to do with it.
But most people aren't thinking like you're going in for the whole. They're going into it, what are you going to do for me? And look, maybe there's a point to, maybe there's a point to what you're going to do for me. Like, I mean, I really, sometimes I wonder, I mean, when I was younger, I thought I was going to have all this wealth and I was going to have this great thing, big house, whatever. Renee, it is the exact opposite. It is the exact, when I tell you it is the exact opposite. Now, I have wealth in other ways. right? This is clear to me, right? But when you think about, I remember my cousin came from the United States to my apartment in Switzerland. I know both two cousins. I know they were looking at me like, "What is this?" Right? I mean, I already know. I know they looked at my house and like they on my apartment and they were like, like this
But
is
what
not
do we
what we
call in
thought he
wealth,
was
though,
going to have.
David? What do we call in wealth? What are we attributing wealth to, though?
Well, look, I'm talking about material, right? So for
Right,
example,
right.
I when I was young, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a this and I'm gonna have a that, and I mean, I envisioned, but what I started to do and be attracted to did not yield the material thing. I think it's interesting because I respect material, I respect
Mm-hmm,
money, at least I try to, right, the best I can.
mm-hmm,
And part of it, I feel as if, and we'll bring this up because there's some other things I want to throw at you before we run out of time. I said to myself, am I cursed, right? Am I part of a group of people that is cursed? Why is it that certain things do not come to me? Other things do, right? Easily, right? But why am I not the receiver of great wealth? What is there or what is not there that is preventing me from achieving these particular things? Now, I would say the moment when I met that guy who served the hot dogs with no buns, I knew I was on to something because he clearly was doing something that I was not doing.
mm-hmm.
Right. He was clearly doing, but he was also part of a system. He had a totally different background, family system. Right. So I bring this up to say, when we experience negative thoughts like that or negative
Mm-hmm.
situations like that, because we all do,
Yes, we
you know,
do.
what is, where is that coming from? Even when you talk about, when I say, yeah, okay, jealousy, I handle, but what about lust? What
Mm-hmm.
about um, greed? I'm not really a greed person, but I recognize greed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I operate on a daily basis with people who are greedy. How do you not resolve, what's the right word? How do you manage this constant barrage, constant signs, communication of this other stuff that's coming into your own personal space, your own personal family, group of friends, social circle? What is your take on what I've presented to you?
You are amongst many who are woke that are asking that question, and having the same perspective and mindset when it comes down um, to that very thing, right? And what I not only share with people, but operate in my own self is making sure that we continuously change the perspective and how we're looking at a thing. And that's why I asked you, personally, how do you measure wealth?
Oh,
So is
okay.
wealth a material thing, like you said, which you said you appreciate the material, but that's not what's going to make you have perfect peace. You can have all the money in the world, and Biggie said it, more money, more problems,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So
Yeah.
let's deal with the problems so that when we get the money, we don't have the problems, right? But let's not make the money, and I know that's not what you're talking about, but let's not make our wealth perspective that of material things. So when we look at it, we have to, like I said, we have to measure what our perspective of wealth is. Now, I measure my perspective of wealth in peace, because I know what it is to live in pieces and not live in peace.
Mm-hmm.
To be all over the place emotionally and mentally and psychologically and financially, like just all over the place. So my peace is my measurement of wealth. So when I'm at a place where I'm able to thrive and be myself, that means just, my core self. I can be as silly as I want, as intellectual as I want, whatever. I am wealthy, because there are so many people who that are woke and have this information or have this stuff, and they no longer have their ability and faculties to articulate what it is for others to have. They're no longer wealthy. Then you have individuals who are sitting in the fat houses, living off the land. They've got it all, and they have no peace. They wish that they could get rid of the money just to have a place of peace, and that would be their wealthiness. So I think first and foremost is changing the perspective on what are we or how we're measuring our wealth. Then after that, understanding if we have that, then it's great in that. Then we use what we have changed our perspective to understand our wealth is, then we're able to use that very thing to bring in the material things. Case in point, listen, I'm not living in a mansion doing this impartation strategist stuff. I'm not. But I know that in all that I'm giving out, I'm wealthy beyond measure. And with my, with continuously bringing people in and they getting the strategies and things of that nature, that my wealth is building. But there is going to come a time that what I'm doing here is going to bring that big house. It's going to, have those things come together. Sure. But because my perspective is not solely focused on that being my measurement, then it doesn't bother me in that area. You understand what I'm saying? I'm telling you, there's some struggling moments.
I get it. And I would say this, it's those moments that I have struggled that have actually now, in this particular moment, have been the thing that has unlocked value for everyone that I interact with, because they don't necessarily know how I'm able to get the things that I get very quickly at my current, my current job that I have. I mean, they don't understand how I can start to connect with people, right? Why I'm connecting with people. I will say this, there are a couple of things I want to bring up before we close, because the job that I currently am, I'm not going to disclose where I work, but I will say that they asked me if I wanted to be photographed for, the company annual report. And I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. I in the past, I would have gotten excited about that. This, I said, Dave, you treat it like it's just another day, right? When you go in, every day is going to be as intense, and you're going to bring it every day. And right before that, I had my 3 month review. Renee, they tore me up. They tore me up. Now, they weren't perfect themselves, right? Because I was seeing a whole bunch of stuff, and I was like, what are they doing? But they tore me up, okay? And one person in particular, because there were only two people during this time where they were talking to me, is 2-on-1. The guy was going and not stopping. He was not, but I would say that there were certain things that I wanted to say, to them as well, and I was able to do it, and I think I did it respectfully. But I was like, I was sort of mad when I got home, and then I realized, I said, what are they trying to tell me? Like, don't even think about it in the way that you normally would have done in the past. Listen to what they're saying.
That's good.
Listen to what they're saying, and see, just from almost like a game, see if you can't close the gap.
Yeah.
See if you can't close the gap. And the next day, my boss comes in and is like, are you okay? Because, they went in. This is the first time I had ever experienced anything like that. At a job, they went in. And I said, oh, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Now, even that response was a new one. Even that was, like, I'm thinking, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm thinking, and I consciously said, Dave, you need to thank her. Like, in my mind, Dave, you need to thank her. And you said, you need to say almost like, yes, thank you, ma'am. Like, thank you for the opportunity for you to tell me how bad I am. Okay? So that from that point on, I even became more conscious going in with a purpose to, Renee, I thought I had mastered the ability to present myself, my whole self. The reality was that I had not, that they had thought that I was one thing when I was quite the opposite. We had a test, one of these MBTI tests. They thought I was an introvert. They thought I was like everything on one side, but clearly I'm like with them. And we literally had to line up during a meeting and like in order in terms of where we were on the MBTI. And I was closer to the boss and this person that like gave it to me. And I say all of this to say, I had to look at it a different way in order to move through. And when I tell you it was painful, painful, Renee, painful, like other people would have been like, all right, I'm done. I'm out, I'm quitting. I'm quitting. I literally had to, in my mind, take the situation and say, what can I get out of it? Dave, you're in COVID, you're in this, you're in that. You got to figure out a way to connect with these people, to hear what they're trying to tell you, and actually excel. Excel in the area in which they see you as deficient.
And not for them.
And not for them.
For you.
And for and when she said, don't take it personal, I'm like, I'm not. I'm not. And I will say this, Renee, I have not been in a pressure cooker situation like that in years. Like, so for example, I said, okay, my boss is very, very ambitious. I was like, Dave, you need to ride that ambition. You need to go in. You need to go in as hard as they are in your ambition, because you've always had it. But you need to let them know in so many ways that you're there with them. However you need to do that, right? In the past, Renee, I could not do that. I felt like I could not do that. You see what I'm saying? Because if you reveal too much, and they're like, oh, we got to get rid of this guy.
Absolutely.
We got to get rid of this guy. But I say that to say, these days, and it's my expectation that everybody, particularly people in their 50s in our group, should be able to do this. And it seems as if we do not still do it, and we're missing an opportunity. We're missing an opportunity. We're missing an opportunity. I hope by bringing you on and giving you a platform to like explain what it is you do, that other people will start to see the value and what it is that you have in terms of knowledge. Is there anything else that you can? I still also want to talk about Lauryn Hill, because I sent you 2 things about Lauryn Hill. And she dropped some very interesting things on both videos. But what do you think? And I also didn't tell you that I actually grew up with Lauryn Hill. Did I tell you that?
You told me that.
I told that.
When I told you I cried like a baby when I went to her concert. I'm like, I've never ever had all them emotions going to see nobody. I probably would have cried if I seen Prince, but the only other person in life would be Elle Boogie. And she came out on that stage, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I cried like a baby. I was just like, oh, that's because of what she stands for.
Yeah,
it means to me. Yeah.
Do you think, let me ask you this, it might be controversial. Do you think that she revealed too much of who she was right from the beginning? Why haven't we seen as much of her as when she first came out? What do you think is happening with her that maybe I should just leave it there. What do you think is happening? Because as you know, when you listen to that album, and I remember where I was when I listened to the album. I remember where I was. I remember how I felt when I listened to the album. I felt like I had never, at that particular time, I had never felt that strongly about an album as I did from a release. You know how they used to release the records, like, oh, it's coming. I ran to get the CD. I put it on and was blown away. I have not had that feeling from a record in years, right? So what do you think happened? Why do you think that we haven't heard as much from her now? Is there anything that you know as an impartation strategist that would shed light on her life, even as someone who's a fan? Like, you can look at it from a, okay, then you could look at it from a fan perspective. What are you thinking about it?
So I know that album was the bomb. It was it and everything. But I kind of have to throw a little boomerang in there and say that really
You like the other one.
the unplugged
You like the other one.
was
You like the other one.
major for me. Like, I mean, and when you ask about like what I think happened or what, so here is my insightful thought, about that. Lauryn came on the scene and she started spitting some things that people wasn't ready per se for yet, but because, and we're talking about a system in a sense too, but because she was able to be marketed a certain way, put in a certain position, it made her more prevalent and more profound, and quickly to throw that out there,
Yes.
And then even listening to what she said herself, it's like she was thrust into a position just because she was being herself. See like that for a minute. She was being who she was, right? She came out, she sang, and it was dropping some deep stuff, and the people were receiving it. So now we put her in a position to be a spokesperson for all of this. But she's still dealing with self. Remember, let's talk about the beginning of this whole thing about dealing with self. What is an impartation strategist? So she didn't, in my perspective, have enough time to deal with who she was as an individual before somebody else, again, started creating her to be what they wanted to be. But they were using a good foundation and principle because she is good soil. So let's now create all this from what we see. Not, and I don't know all about this. I'm just saying, but so that we can get paid off of. Right. And these are gonna be some little words here. We can get paid off of manipulating this individual to be what we need her to be. Right. And in this, because that is who you are, because here's the part, because this is who you are and you're being who you be, you missing it a little bit that somebody else though was pulling the puppet strings and making you what they want you to be all the while too. So you don't really have time to sit and deal with self, right? No. And I know we talk about Lauryn, but I told you my other person is Prince. Same thing, slave. Like, whoa, wait a minute. You capitalizing on my attributes right here. And I'm not really dealing with self to be able to keep this going. So once we get to a certain point, or Lauryn, in my opinion, got to this certain point and start waking up and going, well, wait a minute now. I'm questioning self. I'm questioning what's going on. I'm evolving into someone else, which is actually myself, but I'm spending time with self. Now I want to pull back because I know you created me to be this person, but I got to take a minute to really understand who this person is. So then once you did that, it never changed who Lauryn is because she's still profound. She's still spitting words. She's still like innovative. She got it. But now because she's not marketed or seen or allowing people to manipulate who Lauryn is, because Lauryn has come into full recognition and became awakened to who Lauryn is. Now it's like, wait, hold up. I'm not going out like you want me to go out. I'm still going to be Lauryn because I can't escape who I am. But I'm no longer letting you capitalize on who Lauryn is. And the whole unplug for me was just that. It was like, listen, she said this, her music is amazing, but the interludes, what she was saying, she said, I'm just introducing myself to myself, right? I'm walking up to people like, hey, listen, you meeting me for the first time. See, that's when she became aware. And when she became aware and not allowed somebody else to dictate or create who she was, then she wasn't popular no more. She wasn't the popular vote, but you couldn't take away what she did, who she was, and all of that, right? So what I think as to why we don't hear from her publicly right now, it's because the same thing that I said before too, after going through some what we call quote unquote breakdowns, which was actually rebirthing, once she went through that, now we want to question her validity, right? Now we want to question, well, what was that? What was this? When, and all along, she was always Lauryn. That's why I'm still L Boogie for life, because she's always Lauryn, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
I dig who she is. Her music is transcending, it's powerful, but I dig who Lauryn as the person is. And I think that's a problem that we miss, David. We don't dig people for who they are. We dig them for what they can do or where we can put them. You know what I'm saying? Like when she did Unplugged, we got introduced to who Lauryn Hill was, not what she was dropping, but Lauryn Hill. She made herself real to us, and people don't like real. They rather live in the fake. You know what I'm saying? The real is too much truth for them. The fake feels good, and it's like now, okay, because we didn't question, is she a breakdown? Is she stable? Is she emotionally okay? What's going on? This, that, another, now she has to be Lauryn. Well, not has to be. Now she's Lauryn and at peace with herself, and whatever she does, it doesn't have to be capitalized on, and it doesn't have to be. And to me, now I'm just, like I said, I'm just a fan. She's already made her mark.
Yeah.
She ain't got to recreate nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
because she represented. Even though, let me put it this way, I'm gonna throw this at you, because there are other singers that are equally, and if not more, renowned, right? And you talk about Stevie Wonder, you talk about Donny Hathaway, you talk about the people that she was influenced by, right? They put out a number of different albums, and you can see their catalog and you can see what they've done. Because she came along at the time that she did, with the kind of message that she had, that album, and maybe the other ones, as you would say, they Unplugged, but I would say her introduction into the music world was profound, because there was no one else like her at the time. There was no one else like her. And
she believed in what she spoke. That's what made it even powerful.
That made it even powerful. There was no one else who had put that much thought into a record, that young. You understand what I'm saying? And that musically gifted. You see what I'm saying? So there were a whole bunch of ingredients that came into play with the introduction of that album, and broke down so many different walls. People, I don't even think the record executives knew how many walls she was breaking down. Do you understand what I mean? They had no idea, because at that time, even though we had tremendous success in the music business, she was bringing something that was very different than any other artist had brought before her. That's just my opinion.
But but David, that's what I'm getting ready to say. You know what she brought?
What?
Herself.
What?
Now I'm going to ask you a question. Who is Stevie Wonder?
Well, nobody knows.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody knows. But look, I can't say that. People.
No. I'm saying they brought a musical, like they impacted music, but you don't know who they are.
They don't know who we are. Like, the fact that I said it so quickly gives you the answer, because you could be singing about anything, right? The whole idea is that the artist is somewhat hidden their true
and Lauryn
thoughts.
Was never hidden, though.
No, she
wasn't hidden. So that's why I'm saying that's what made it different. People like Lauryn and Prince, they're not hidden. You know what I'm saying? They speak their truth. They speak themselves through their music, and that's why they draw you in. It's not about, I've got a funky beat, I've got a nice melodic sound, or whatever the case may be. It's like they drew you in because you was like, I think I know this person. Like, they stood for what they sang. It wasn't just, okay, somebody wrote this song, I'm gonna put my oomph on it. No, it was like, I know who this person is. Like, I know we're not talking about this person, but when I hear people like Phyllis Hyman sing, she's my other one. You feel Phyllis. Like, Phyllis is going through. You know that where she is, it's emotionally, some stuff going on. Phyllis is going to put it in there. She's going to tell you, this how I'm feeling. I ain't loved. I'm going through this, that, another. You knew Phyllis, but you may not. I'm just going to say, you may not know. And these are people I like. That's why I'm using them. So, if this goes out, I love y'all. But, you don't know who Chrisette Michelle is. You know what
No,
I
no,
mean?
no, 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 no,
But
no,
I,
no, no,
but I love. I mean, her
no,
vocals
no,
are
no,
beastly.
no, 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 no.
I know
This
who
is
it is.
different.
You know
It's
what
a
I'm saying?
different.
I
It's
know
a
who
different
Lettuce
thing.
is. You know,
Yeah.
another one. I know she is. These, I'm just saying, these people bring you, and that's what I do even in my music. And I'm still working on some new things. I've got my project Rebirth of Renee coming out, and all of my, all of my music is about me. You get to know me. Somebody asked me in an interview, well, what's your song Paralyzed? I said, for years I lived in my own fear and bondage and would not go forth in anything God called me to do because I was hindered by a whole lot of stuff. I was paralyzed. I sat with the pen as a writer, as a songwriter, as a published author. I sat with my pen doing nothing, staring blankly. And that is the words to the song, doing nothing. Why can't I move? I'm paralyzed. I was in my own head, in my own way. You get to hear that in my music, and you get to say, well, you know what? I feel like I know Renee. She's not just singing some songs because they sound good or feel good. No, you're going to get me in that. And that's what Lauryn did. Like you said, the industry wasn't really ready for people to be themselves in their music. We got a lot of good music. Yes. We got a lot of good artists, but we didn't really have to. If we want to go to artists who was like, who do we feel? And that's where I get Lauryn, right? When we go to, we talk about, we can go to like Marvin. We knew him, we might have knew Marvin. We knew, what's so far below? We knew Ziggy Marley. We knew him. It was a movement. We knew him. We knew these people, and that's what drew us in. And that separates from me. That separates Lauryn from an artist, and from just being an artist. That separates her from being an artist to me. And to say that she is art. Because she only allowed us, she only allowed us to be a part of the creation as to who she is. And that's what, when I'm gonna be truthful, this is just my opinion. That's what we need now. That's what we need now. We need art. And I'm getting ready to go off the beaten path for a minute. These are people that I've never met yet, but I sit back and I look at them and I thank and I appreciate them. Somebody like Taraji P. Henson, DMV sister, right? She out here speaking on mental health. She out here telling you, I got breakdowns. I'm major. I'm great. You've seen all the stuff I did, but I want you to understand me. I want you to know what's going on so that, you don't think that I did it without no challenges. Jennifer Lewis, like, I love her. You know what I'm saying? Little girl. I love her. These are real people. And, as we've got some other real people kind of passing, the John Singletons and the Maya Angelou's, and, we've got them going. They deposited seed into some people. Sure. And them people that they deposited seed in should be depositing seed in some other people. You know? I'm just saying.
Look. Look, we could go. If you notice, if you go to the website, or not the website, I'm sorry. If you go to the YouTube channel, or you will find that I put up a new banner, and I have the Mona Lisa with the mask on, right? Okay. And I thought it was appropriate because I believe that the people that I'm reaching out to, like yourself, are these new wave of people, right? Now you may not think, and I'm putting words, in your head, sort of, kind of. You may not be thinking like, okay, I'm the next Lauryn Hill and whatever it is that you're thinking, right? But I do believe that by creating the platform in which people can actually be free, that it will unlock something that's going to lead not necessarily to your individual success, but in success as a whole, success as a community of people, success as a wave that is much needed now, right? So I bring up Lauryn Hill because she was a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of, and we knew when we were growing up, when we first met her, that she was ahead of the curve. Like, I mean, when I tell you, she was a gymnast, like she was a little kid, but she was rapping then, like rapping, like her brother said, hey, do your rap. And this is after we had done everything in gymnastics, and I would teach a little dance class or whatever. And they were precocious kids, one of the few in that community that really stood out, her brother and herself. And I was like, this little girl is something else. Like, so we would go to summer camp just to see what they were going to be doing or how they would interact. It was a thing that and I think likewise, they were looking at us in the same way. They were coming to camp to, like, well, what's David going to do? Or what is Mike going to do? Or what is so-and-so going to do? So it was this symbiotic thing, which I've tried to recreate for years now, right? Wow. So I use this platform as an invitation to you at any time that if you want to come in and have a conversation about this, you just let me know.
Listen, David, I'm gonna hold you up to it. I'll be calling you up and stuff like that. Come on, let's talk. Let's let me know and we can do it, right? Because you've said a lot of things that have been on my mind. I will also I'll recommend this other particular person that may not be on your radar, but she wrote a biography. Mariah Carey dropped a biography, and I've been telling people about this, but she does not resonate with people in the same way. Now, she's a big star. But it wasn't until I started hearing some of the interviews that she's made and what she had to go through in order to just achieve that success. And I thought, I said, I will never, because it's not that I said I will never judge a person again, but clearly what's on the outside. Come on.
Clearly what's on the outside is not, you cannot judge people. You don't know what they have gone through. You don't know what now. And some people choose not to share it. Some people choose not to share. People, have different routes in terms of coping, in terms of moving through life. And I think the biggest lesson was, I'm like, I'm with Oprah on this. She's like, look, we would look at you and think you got everything. We would look at you and think that your life was easy and that this success came to you in a much quicker way than it would somebody else. Literally, we didn't know that grew up in an abusive home. We didn't know that her mom not didn't sell her out, but didn't support her when she needed her the most, right? When she had this sort of mental, we didn't know that the brother was against her. We didn't know that the sister tried to pimp her out and sell it to, tried to literally pimp her out to a pimp, and we didn't know all this stuff. So and if we listen to the songs, we would not have known still, even though she was writing about it. That's what I think is interesting as you present Lauryn and you present something like her. Like we listening to you, it's just like a ditty. It's no big whoop what you're doing because it's covered. It's not, there's a lack of, how do you say? She's doing all the high notes, she's doing it, but she's not really invested in letting you know what the story is. You see what I'm saying? Where Lauryn was perceived in that way. Lauryn had a message to communicate. Mariah pulled back in a way that you couldn't necessarily, she just did a song. Oh, she made number one.
But then I think David, and I'm gonna give this to some self-disclosure, but I think, David, that when we talked about the system, right? Because even hearing a little bit, because in this whole thing, because even kind of getting secondhand knowledge of a little bit of Mariah, the capitalization wasn't so much on let's make Mariah a spokesperson. It was let's deal with her vocals.
Yes.
So
clearly.
I've got to be pulled back because this is how I market it. This, and I think, it's so crazy. And we're talking about artists, though. I'm just saying, because I watched, and I can only go with, what I saw, whatever, the biopic of Whitney Houston. It was like, we made her this person that she's always clearly said, I'm not, but when you're doing this, like you said, now we have to live up to something that somebody else created for us. And then we have to stay within those parameters of those boxes per se. So, it's really challenging to do that. And to kind of veer off like that and do some little self-disclosure. I don't know if I had shared, I have a daughter who's in the entertainment industry as well. And she's 16 now, but she came in at 7.5. Okay. And there was some times that she struggled with some things, and I'm just thinking, wow, you've been in this industry for a while, you've gone places, you've done things that other teenagers and youth have not done. Like, why are you getting stuck in these feelings and thoughts about yourself sometimes? So even as a therapist, I went to therapy,
Mhm.
and the therapist asked me, I said, my daughter has changed, not just because of growth, but she's changed. And the therapist asked me this question. She goes, well, when do you think she changed? And I'm like, again, I ponder stuff. I'm like, because I really want to know the why. So I thought about it, and I'm like, going, and it came to me. Developmentally, she entered in this large industry when she still clearly hadn't even understand and was able to identify who she was as a person.
Yeah, sure,
Right?
sure, sure.
Then let's add on to that. We don't understand the effects all the time of rejection, right? So you're going to a zillion auditions and maybe only getting 2 or 3. You're being rejected on a constant basis. But what you're also doing is you still have to suck it up and come through with whatever character that they want you to be.
Sure.
Come on, because I was learning this for myself,
Yeah.
but it was the analogy or the example of my daughter, and I'm going, so yeah, she'll change, and it kind of makes me go, like I said, going back to the Lauryn, yeah, you'll change. We came in at a certain point, and even like you said, the age factor playing a difference. She came in at a point where it was like, I'm still trying to identify self. But wait a minute, now I'm doing all these great things. I have to perform for people. And if
Yep.
you're performing for people, then you don't take the time out to get to the real you. And then when you have those moments of I got to deal with real yous, it becomes a conflict. You know what I'm saying? Because you got two different entities veering at you to bring you look, and then you got to come forth in your true self, but not your real self, just the self they want you to have. And yeah, I'm saying
Yeah,
this that way to be.
it's
You know
look,
what I'm saying?
it's really look. I have new respect now. I mean, I've always had respect for artists, but I just
Mm-hmm.
have new respect because
I
of
do
where
too.
we are at this particular time. I think also in particular, our generation is a generation where the conversation or the decisions that somebody like Lauren made are
Mm-hmm.
being thrust upon a lot of us,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but just in a different way. All right.
Absolutely.
COVID. Look, I'm still waiting for people that I know like to step up to the plate and do certain things because for all their lives they presented themselves as this and that. I'm like, all right, now's your time. They haven't budged and they're being forced to budge. They've got to do something because there's no one else. And I would even put this way. I'm gonna let you go because
Mm-hmm.
we
I
go
know.
hour. With regard to this election,
Mm-hmm.
okay, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of who you support, clearly we're in a situation. We're in a constitutional crisis. We're in a leadership crisis.
Mm-hmm.
We're at a point where the same kind of thing that would be presented in the past as an excuse for why things aren't working, it's not working anymore. And unfortunately, it's landed on you and I's watch. You and I's
Yeah.
watch. It's not the baby boomers' watch. It's not the
Mm-mm.
millennials' watch. It literally is the people in the Generation X who are poised to be the next leadership. And I don't think we as a group are ready for it. We're going to be forced because
Mm-hmm.
there's who else is there? You can't keep electing people who are in their 70s, right?
Absolutely.
You have to come up
Absolutely.
with new solutions and people who are leaders. That means you're going to have to go across the aisle. You're going to have to talk to some people that you wouldn't necessarily have had to talk to. You're going to have to
Absolutely.
raise money. You're going to have to look at things in a different way, not like the generation before, because they had a different whole setup, a whole system. And the
Mm-hmm.
longer we wait, Renee, I mean, we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks, right? But
Yeah.
still, as you said, we can't rely on people who are in the government. We have to start building these systems ourselves. We can't be like, oh, Trump is going to do it. Oh, Biden's going to do it. These guys are closer to the grave than not. Where are the people our age?
That's what
Where
I'm
are the
saying.
people our age?
And I kind of put this plea out there, David. I know that, I may not have the celebrity platform of many, but I still have a voice. and my voice is powerful, and I believe in the power of words. So I not only, kind of send out a decree and or a plead for individuals to connect with other individuals and to pour into and walk alongside and actually build up the people around you, and then step outside of the people around you to the people you don't know. I mean, um, there are so many people who are in need of what you have. And it's not about the money, it's about your wisdom, it's about your time, it's about your compassion. It's about those things that really will help a person catapult into something great and awesome. And with that being said, it may actually generate income or money or material things if you just help people with their core needs. And that's some therapeutic Maslow's law kind of stuff, just helping people with their core needs. And you got that to provide. I know that this is not just the Christmas time. This message is going to go beyond that. But even like in this season, I know we hustle and bustle, for those who believe in giving gifts and all that stuff. And I'm thinking the greatest gift you can give somebody is yourself, and it costs you nothing. So
Look,
I'm putting that out there. That's
look,
out the box.
Well, is it out the box? Well, I'll let that be the last word. We're going on very long, but I'm very, very happy. I mean, I'm very happy that I was able to speak with you today.
Absolutely.
Let's say this, my day tomorrow is definitely going to be influenced by this conversation.
Wow.
I would say that, every day has been a challenge. I'll tell you right now, every single day has been a challenge in more ways than one. I know that, it will be that I come out stronger, and I hope to present myself as an example of how you can move through challenging times. So
Yes.
thank you very much for your
Yes.
time and your words of
Absolutely.
wisdom, and your ability to also be a sounding board for where I am at this particular time as
I
well.
really appreciate you. And I mean, listen, I have to be about what I speak about. And that's exactly what I do. So I'm so grateful, like I said, that you invited me and we could have this time together.
All right. With
All right.
that, I'll let you roll, and I'll try to get this up as quickly as possible,
Okay.
and we'll see what happens, right?
All right. And I don't know if I just do want to make sure that people are visiting my website so that you can get
Absolutely.
in touch with me and that we can have this one-on-one, impartation, this strategy session for you. And you can reach me at www.rebirthofrenee.com. And that's www.rebirthofrenee.com. I look forward to talking to you.
All right, everybody, that's Renee Ambush. Great talking to you. I will speak to you about other things soon.
Okay.
And we'll connect you with my aunt down there in Georgia. I'm sure, she has a lot to say, and she
Okay.
will receive what you're doing with open arms, and I guarantee you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care of
All right.
yourself.
You do the same, David.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank
Peace.
you.
Bye bye.